So, for those who's watching, or pre-recorded, this is WFSO Aftermath Special. Welcome. As I was just telling the people that was on live, what we're going to talk about today. Of course, we're going to talk about results of TNA Unbreakable, which happened this past Thursday in Vegas. And we're also going to talk about, both our WrestleManias on Saturday and Sunday. All the PLEs for not like NXT, but like all the PLEs for WWE, for the main roster has been confirmed during Raw. So we're going to talk about that, and of course I'm going to have a lot to say about that. Daredevil Born Again, we will talk about the review of that because the last episode was like this past Wednesday, and yeah, just kind of it's more of us to say it's kind of a little bit of a brutal, if you want to say that, from the ending of it. Also talk about Bucks news when it comes to Damian Lillard. So we will talk about that. So let's start up with results of TNA Wrestling Unbreakable. So I think majority of these matches I got wrong, but like I said, that's a good thing for like having some shows be like unpredictable. So that's always a good thing. And as y'all can tell, of course they ain't had no pre-show or anything like that because Impact was going on around that time. So it's like, how would they end up doing a pre-show? So anyway, the first match was Eric Young, Zachary Wentz, and JDC, and I thought JDC was going to win one at least for the system, but that did not go that way. So it ended up being Eric Young ended up winning that match, and decent match. No interference from either the system or Northern Armory, so which is I'm kind of surprised. So I guess just made the match more interesting and more fun. The bracket so far, and I want to apologize on my WFSO preview when it comes to Unbreakable. So I was thinking like, how did AJ Francis end up advancing? I forgot the not last week but the week before it was the triple threat that he had against Mance Warner and Sami Callihan, and he ended up winning that for him to advance. So my apologies on that. Then you have Eddie Edwards, Alyssa Edwards versus Ace Austin versus Steve Macklin, and I thought there'd be something good for Ace Austin, but yes, I'll say Steve Macklin did deserve it, and he did beat Eddie Edwards and Ace Austin, so didn't make it interesting, so that was pretty good. Moose had an open challenge, and ended up challenging him was Cindy Akin. If y'all don't know who he is, in WWE he was called Reggie, and also Scripps. So yeah, a couple of nicknames and stuff like that. And this was a good showing, especially a good showing. Like I would think it would have been somebody from NXT was gonna make the challenge. Would have been interesting, but this was good too. So don't get me wrong. It was very good. But yeah, of course, Moose did retain. I thought it was a good match. So can't change that. Okay, so they was talking about the injury report and stuff like that too. Before that, but anyways, then you had the 6-man tag with Mike Santana and the Hardys go against Mustafa Ali and Nick and Ryan Nemeth. The thing was that oh crap. So they're gonna score, yep. So now it's a tie game. So that probably would be an error. Sorry, I'm just watching the Brewers game and talk about this at the same time. Yeah, that really sucks. A little bit of double play. Oh well, it's like the 5th inning, so still time. But anyways, I saw a majority of this match, and I forgot the results of this one. So it was just a lot of stuff, going on that Thursday. So, you know, okay, so the Hardys and Mike Santana did beat them. So, okay, but it was a good match overall. Hey, what's up, No No? Let's see. Okay, Dirty Dango and Eddie Edwards took out Zachary wins that backstage. I must have missed a little bit of that. Yeah, because I think it was something was going on that time that I was watching this and something else. I can't even remember what it was. And sorry about the curtain. Uh, got my son's dog behind me. I'm just watching outside. Don't know. Of course, Victoria Crawford, also known as Alicia Fox, was there. So she's retired from wrestling and all that, and a few celebrities were there too. So very interesting. Um, the tag team match, the champions versus the challengers. You got Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich going against Frank Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard. It would be interesting. They would have done a winner take all, like it was back then at SummerSlam. Like I think it was Mickey James and Kofi Kingston. Mickey with the Divas Championship and Kofi with the Intercontinental Championship. Went against Beth Phoenix and Santino. This was a SummerSlam. I can't remember what year, but I know it was in SummerSlam. Could have been '08 or '07, not sure. Um, but anyways, so champions versus challengers, it was decent. But yeah, Joe Hendry and Masha Slamovich did win their match. Which is gonna be the question. With Joe Hendry's a triple threat match. With Ethan Page and Frank Kazarian, because Kazarian is gonna cash in his Call Your Shot trophy for his title shot. So that's the same thing you think with Tessa Blanchard. Like is she gonna win it too? Although she right now she's got a lot of heat on her for since her return. So just gotta think of what's going on and what's gonna happen. Let's see what else. And let's go way to stop somebody. So that match and Chris Bay came out, just talking to the crowd a little bit and said he will work on his return. So it was a miracle that he is walking. Although they re-showed the incident that happened that actually had him paralyzed. Might as well just say temporarily because now he's standing on his own 2 feet. So you like to see stuff like that like going on with some wrestlers that have like injuries like that suddenly like come back and everything works out for the greater good. Um okay, so there's that, and that was the okay. Wow, yeah, this match, the Barbed Wire Massacre. They said this was the sixth time in TNA history that they done this type of match, and crazy to say, but yeah, this match had to be match of the night to Mance Warner and Sami Callihan. So this match, was totally brutal and wow, it was just crazy blood everywhere and just a lot of stuff that was going on in there, which was pretty good. Especially they did a little tribute to Mick Foley with the Callahan using Mr. Sacco wrapping barbed wire and you know end up doing it to Mance Warner. But yeah, this was very brutal and for two men that's known for for like type of hardcore matches anyway. So what a way to make it interesting. So Sami Callihan did get the win, finally beat Mance Warner. I don't know if they both going to move on from this or is this feud over or whatever. We don't know. But if it's over, what a way, Sammy Callahan, to get the win finally against Mance Warner. So yeah, okay, yeah, they were talking about a little bit, of Chris Angel, like he was there. Elijah, did his like little bit of performance and issued an open challenge for TNA Rebellion this Sunday. So who's going to accept that challenge? We don't know, but we'll see. So I guess TNA Rebellion will be interesting. So just see what happens with that one with Elijah going against an unnamed opponent. Maybe, come on. But yep, and there she goes. And anyways, main event, they showed the international championship, which it was a former digital media champion, which the last person that won it was PCO, and the first person to win it was Jordan Grace. So why not? In TNA, a Triple Crown winner. I guess the thing is it would have been cool if she would have been like Tessa Blanchard, TNA World Champion. I don't know. My opinion, she could have pulled it off, but I guess that's just me. But anyways, the finals with Steve Macklin and Eric versus Eric Young versus AJ Francis. At one point, Steve Macklin and Eric Young was teaming up, to attack AJ Francis because AJ Francis was kind of showing a little bit of dominance in the match. So it is crazy. Like I said, it was a good match overall. Steve Macklin is now the TNA International Champion, so well deserved for him. And finally, get the fans, behind him on this side. It took a bit, so I'm just glad, TNA ended up, just refocused because, people was cheering them. Then, they started booing them. Then they not recycle, but restep, redo it again. And, Steve Macklin, yeah, now I got the fans on his side. And like I said, the International Championship, and he'd be the first to do it. So that's well deserved, so that's good for him. But they also mentioned on here, so for Rebellion as well, that whoever doesn't get pinned will be the one that challenged on Steve or the winner of it at Rebellion. So AJ Francis was the one that got pinned by Steve Macklin, so Steve Macklin will defend it against Eric Young at Rebellion for the International Championship. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And once again, congratulations, Steve Macklin. So that's pretty good. Okay, the Hardys officially invited the Namaths to the Hardy compound. Probably something they're gonna do this Thursday on Impact. So interesting. Like I said, that barbed wire match, with Mance Warner and Sami Callihan. Like I said, I call that match of the night. But although this, it was a 3-hour pay-per-view, but I'm gonna grade it and I'm gonna rate it. I'm probably gonna grade it like maybe like a A minus. It's because I know the main focus was just to for that international title. So I know that was the main focus on it, but I think they could have added, No, they couldn't add a tag team match. I think they could have added like one more title that could have been defended, and not the Knockouts, but maybe the Knockouts tag team. I just think they could have added, one more match that had like a, title on the line, but that's just me. So A minus, and I will rate it 1 out of 10, maybe like a 9. Yeah, I give it a 9 and rated it, graded it like A minus. So we're gonna move on from that, and this weekend we will talk about my predictions on TNA's Rebellion this Sunday. I don't know if I'm gonna actually order the pay-per-view. Maybe a late birthday present for myself. Who knows? I may do that. So I guess it's. I'm not gonna jump to conclusions just yet, but we'll see. Anyways, okay, we can get off of that and let's go into WrestleMania. Do they got both night one and night two? Let's just do more easier. Complete WrestleMania deserves, because I'm not just gonna like go to. Okay, let me see. There we go, better. All of night one and night two, so we can do that just to make it more easier. So we won't have to, skip things and just talk about the whole WrestleMania in general. So they both gonna have, Saturday and Sunday results. So, congratulations to Jey Uso. Defeated Gunter with winning the World Heavyweight Championship. Some people, come on, baby, come on. Hold on, y'all. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. You need me to grab you? Hold on, y'all. Sorry. Hey, leave her alone. Okay, you can sit down now. Up. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't try to hurt you, Lee, but you can lay down. Go ahead. But anyways, like I said, congratulations to Jey Uso, and yeah, majority of I'm not gonna say majority of the people. I'm gonna say some people were not happy because Gunter ended up tapping out to his own move to Jey Uso within them maybe about 5-6 seconds, and people were upset about that. But half of us wasn't even thinking about that. We were just happy that Jey won it.
But you know what else happened?
What?
WrestleMania. We believed in Joe. Who got it right?
You did. We will get to that at that point. But anyways, I guess it's I can understand why some fans upset Gunter ended up tapping 5 seconds compared but then again, I guess we gotta look at it other ways. Maybe WWE was probably running out of time because night one was
they believed in Joe Hendry.
But they WWE had to do stuff in a certain amount of time, so they might just have to have them tap out quick because of time. So most of these matches was almost in half an hour a piece. So yeah, it's what more can you do? Not I was expecting a little bit more of this tag team match. Not from the World Raiders, but the New Day. So this probably be the only match on the card for Saturday was not that great. I don't know if they were taking their time, or I don't know. It's just it was a bad pace for that match, and I'm not blaming the World Raiders. I'm blaming the New Day. So it was just not that much of a pace. So that's just my opinion, but everybody they have their own opinion. And oh no, Giants took the lead 3-2 now. But anyways, New Day for I think it's the record breaking 12 times that they won it as a tag team. So yeah, they say it is a WWE record that the New Day won the tag title for the 12th time. Okay, now some of y'all may not like it, and some of y'all was complaining about this match too. But the Jade Cargill and Naomi match, I'm sorry, that was a match of the night for Saturday. I'm not saying that's the best match overall, but that was the match of the night for me for that Saturday. That's just my opinion. And some people still have problems with Jade Cargill and talk about they thinking she still needs more training and things like that. But for those times, because they had to sell the attack and stuff for her to get retrained or whatever they want to call it. But only saw like minor mistakes for her like in the past and stuff like that. But I don't know. But fans think they know everything. And I guess I can put myself in that category too. But you go on opinions and you go on facts too. So that's just one way to put it. But anyways, Jay Cargill did beat Naomi, and I don't care what anybody says. I thought that was a match of the night for Saturday. So good WrestleMania debut for her solo debut, I should say, for Jay Cargill. So congratulations to her. Now, this was a good match too. LA Knight defended the U.S. title against Jacob Fatu, and Jacob Fatu ended up winning the match. You might as well say, did he did it all by himself? I believe he did, with like no interference or anything like that. So Jacob Fatu did his thing, and and now he's a second Samoan, as they said, that won the United States title. Y'all probably don't know who the first one that won the United States title, so it ended up being Roman Reigns. Crazy that sounds. And I thought, Dragon Lee was going to get his moment at WrestleMania, was going to go against El Grande Americano, but it ended up being Ray Phoenix. I don't know why Dragon Lee just couldn't get his moment and stuff. I can understand, they got to put Ray Phoenix to make his WrestleMania debut and stuff like that. Same thing for El Grande Americano. You already know who he is. But, anyways, I thought,
Melissa's grandma wants Jace one day this week. So we said Wednesday. So then we could perhaps go out somewhere to eat Wednesday instead of having stuff delivered, and we haven't got to worry about Jace.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
But we'll have him got him Friday through Sunday, so.
Right.
So I was thinking we won't have his night light, nothing like that if we were adding Wednesday night where we're going.
Oh yeah, and he probably wouldn't even go to sleep, so.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
And his other grandma wants him, his great grandma, so.
Yeah, why not? But I was thinking that maybe, they'll take off El Grande Americano's mask, and, although what he did to Dragon Lee, I think it was either last week or the week before, he took off his mask and distracted him and ended up beating him. So I was thinking Dragon Lee would have got revenge. That would have been something. But why not? Like, the match wasn't disappointing, don't get me wrong. I just wanted this storyline with this El Grande Americano to be over with, but sadly, it's still going to continue on. So, not my favorite storyline in WWE with with El Grande Americano, especially making a big joke out of it. Like, so right now, that's my least favorite storyline. But I understand, you want to get Chad Gable over. So I don't know, have him go for the IC title or something like that. And still, you got the Creed brothers that hadn't had a title, or Ivy Now. It's like, what are you gonna do with them? I don't know. It's just my thoughts. Hallelujah for this match. We already know, Charlotte Flair is going to deliver, but Tiffany Stratton delivered. Then you got a few people that are still complaining about this match, but they was happy with the outcome. So Tiffany Stratton did retain the women's title against Charlotte Flair. So, thank God about that. And another good thing, too, with this, that, this feud ain't going to be over. So, they're probably going to end up continuing. So, make it interesting. But anyways, good thing, Tiffany won, and she ain't gonna move on because Charlotte gonna be successful like trying to win the women's title. So it's like one of those wait and see. So we will see. In the main event of night one, Seth Rollins defeated CM Punk and Roman Reigns in an awesome triple threat match, which ended in a little bit of controversy. So towards the end of the match, you got CM Punk, all three guys were down, both CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman got a chair, then passed it to Punk. Punk was going to hit Roman. I don't know if he's going to get. I think he was going to try to hit either Seth or Roman Reigns, but suddenly Paul Heyman, did the low blow on CM Punk, which was kind of shocking. Roman did smile a little bit, which the fans didn't care at first. They was like, okay, he's going to be his alliance with Roman Reigns. You know what? Okay, why not? So Roman Reigns hit CM Punk with a chair a few times, then saw Seth Rollins, then he was on the verge to hit him, then Paul Heyman hit him with a low blow. And you're thinking like, okay. But I know majority of us see that coming a mile away because of, what Seth Rollins said to Paul Heyman either it was last week or could have been the week. No, it was the week before. I'm sorry. So, that kind of plays in people's minds like what if Paul Heyman ended up joining with Seth Rollins. So and that was the thing. So Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman joined forces, and we will talk about the closing moments of Raw that happened earlier tonight, which kind of made things a little bit more interesting. So we will see, but good match and cool for night one. Let's see. I guess we can talk about the results of I guess I can quickly grade night one. So and rate night one. Night one was actually, I would give it like an A minus, and I would grade it like an A minus, but I would rate it a 9. Very close to a 10 because that tag team championship match with New Day and War Raiders kind of felt a little flat. So that was probably my only issue with night one was that tag team match. Unbelievable. Now we going to night two with Io Sky defending the title, the World Women's title, against Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Some people end up turning against Bianca Belair for a bit. Then and of course Bianca Belair is undefeated when it comes to 1-on-1. So that streak is over, and good showing for all three women from what I saw, but other personal reasons why I didn't see the the beginning of this match, but yeah, but did see the middle and the closing moments of it, so interesting. So glad Io Sky retained. So I don't think you don't want to just like give it back to Rhea Ripley. Then the fans get like all upset. It's like we know she lost to her, but like why? Then if they would give it to Bianca Belair, then the fans at Vegas would have flipped their lid. They would have get upset. Because when it comes to fans, when it comes to WrestleMania, they get weird. So we'll talk about more about that situation later. And Sin City Street Fight, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. So not too bad, but it was like a hard decision, like seeing like who needed it more, but I guess it ended up being Drew McIntyre that needed it more. But I think that feud is going to be far from over. So it's going to be more going on with that. And, it's like one of those, wait and see. You know what I mean? of course, this is the wife's, favorite two wrestlers, and she was happy either way. Um, Now the Intercontinental Championship, you got Braun Breaker defending against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio in the Fatal 4-Way match. And I know I did mention that, it'll be a good shocker, to surprise the crowd that have Dominic Mysterio win this match. But I was saying, like, not like the Penta and, Braun Breaker can probably, move on from, maybe from the IC title, maybe, go for the world title. Possibly. That possibly can happen, but I think right now, the closing moments of Raw, you got Breaker and Seth, teaming up, with Paul Heyman going against, CM Punk and Roman Reigns. So different, but another good match. All four, it was Penta's WrestleMania debut. I think it was the same thing with Braun Breaker too. So I think it was his WrestleMania debut. So good showing, and like I said, Dominic Mysterio now IC title, and finally, won a solo championship. Well, besides the North American Championship in NXT, which he didn't hold for long, but his first actual, main roster solo title. So we move on from that, and of course Carlito is still getting beaten by Braun Breaker, which is interesting, and of course Randy Orton did have a open challenge, and as the Miz guessed it right before it came out, nobody didn't know who was going to challenge him. I was thinking maybe they would call somebody up and maybe give him a challenge. Who knows? But this is the first time that somebody in the active TNA roster was on a WrestleMania match, and yeah, it ended up being Joe Hendry. Ended up answering the challenge.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Yeah, the wife did call it, and like I said, we didn't look at no backstage stuff, or didn't read no dirt sheets or anything like that. We were just like just want to be surprised, and we'll just see what happened. And she guessed it, and maybe like about 20 seconds later, he came out. So
I was just saying it as a joke.
Yeah, I know you were saying it as a joke, but yeah, it actually happened. So I know some people were disappointed of the length of the match and thinking like Joe Hendry got buried. These were the same people that got upset, that Jordan Grace didn't get that long of a time in the Royal Rumble last year, because she wasn't in there that long. But then again, that that kind of started a little bit. I wouldn't say that kind of started a little bit of partnership, because the year before they had Mickie James in the Royal Rumble match for the women, and she was signed with TNA at the time. So what I mean? TNA and WWE, they've been working with each other for like years, and they just haven't put it out there. And the partnership with them, right here, with, although Joe Hendry did lose to Randy Orton, did gave the big moment to Joe Hendry and to TNA, with people don't like how short the match was or not. It did give TNA more exposure. So they're gonna probably talk about it more on NXT maybe, or talk about it more on TNA this coming Thursday. So Randy Orton gave Joe Hendry his moment, then he RKO'd him again. But then again, you can't be upset, because that's typical Randy Orton. Everybody should have known something like that was going to happen. So you can't get upset.
What the hell is outside?
It was like a truck, but I think it was like a what's they call those
Is it the road sweeper?
No, it wasn't a road sweeper, because they would have went a little bit slower than that. It was like a city truck, but just couldn't tell what it was. But like I said, Joe Hendry did have his moment. It wasn't like a really squash match, because Joe Hendry did got some moves in and stuff like that. So him being to the side that he was in a WrestleMania for his WrestleMania debut. and suddenly, got a little bit distracted, got too excited. He got RKO for his troubles. But for people that saying, Joe Hendry got buried, no, he didn't. If he got buried, you guys, would have hated him and like get upset to the ground, and But if y'all saw, the matches that Joe Hendry did in NXT, he's not buried. He's not buried. And like I said, this gives, TNA, a little bit more exposure. So, good news on that. And hopefully, people will probably turn into TNA. And plus, with Joe Hendry's popularity growing for the last few years, why not? It was a good move. So I don't care what anybody says that they think he got buried. That's a good move. And good for Joe Hendry. And Triple H did mention on a post show that this is the first for Joe Hendry, but it won't be the last. So maybe they got more plans, coming up for maybe next year's WrestleMania. You never know. But then again, TNA and WWE got like a multi-year deal that NXT stars can go to NXT. But now, besides you saw it with Jordan Grace, now you see TNA stars going against the main roster. So why not? Pretty cool. I don't care what anybody said, but that was awesome. AJ Styles, Logan Paul, and some people were upset with that too. That AJ Styles lost. And I think they don't understand. They gotta build. Some. I wouldn't say Logan Paul is like officially a new star, but they just really, really just have to build him up. So this is good for Logan Paul. AJ Styles, a good thing. Yeah, everybody say hi to the Ivy. Although she's looking at me weird. But anyways, so let me move this a little bit so get that curtain out the way. And yeah, like I said, for the coming months, you're gonna see more of her. Like I said, no issues with this match, and that finisher with Logan Paul when he debuted that finisher, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, was very impressive. So, he called it the pulverizer, which is a good move, and something he probably created and tried to like think of something different, and why not? It was pretty good. Either way, another good match. Next one, the worst kept secret. Live Lycuria going against Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. And believe me, I'm happy that the Women's Tag Team Champion get to be featured in WrestleMania. I think it was featured last year too, where I think it was with Jade and Bianca holding it. So I'm just glad it was like featured. We can understand, the other matches like the Intercontinental and United States women's title wasn't like featured or anything like that. But we understand, and plus, certain amount of time that they gotta work with too. So what more can you do? So like I said, why I said the worst kept secret is because Becky Lynch ended up being, her tag team partner. And you know what? Because rumors been pointing out there, and like I said, I haven't seen any dirt sheets like leading to like WrestleMania or anything like that. But you just had some people, certainly popping up. Maybe Becky Lynch is due to return. Becky Lynch due to return. So, whatever. But I like it that her 3-year-old kind of hijacked the post show when she was when her and Lyra was getting interview. Lyra, I'm sorry. So that was pretty funny. But yep, Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. Now the women's I would say for that moment they were the women's tag title. So Lyra Valkyria, 2 belts. With the Intercontinental and also the tag team titles. So let me just get into what happened on Raw. So Raquel and Liv got their rematch, and Lyra and Becky ended up losing the titles to them back to them. So Liv and Raquel are the women's tag team champions for the fourth time. That's a record. And with Dom, of course he ended up retaining the Intercontinental Championship. So a good thing for Judgment Day. So maybe either Jamie or Finn, or you have JD McDowell, which he did return on Raw to assist Dominic being Penta for it. So you got maybe you have Carlito and JD McDowell go for the tag titles, and maybe Finn will go for the world title. You never know. Maybe to strengthen up Judgment Day. You never know. I don't know. You're just thinking that sooner or later, like Judgment Day is gonna get like over with, or just gonna get reshaped. So that's a possibility. So it's like one of those like wait and see. But like I said, it was a worst kept secret, like with Becky Lynch, and what more can you do? Now the main event of night 2. A lot of people was upset with this match because no, they wasn't upset that John Cena did. When some people were, let me change that. Some people were upset. John Cena broke the record for in the WWE, not the wrestling industry. So some people can chill because some people would be like, Ric Flair still holds the record. He's a 24-time world champion. Yeah, true, but the titles he won within WWE and now in their brackets now, only in WCW, ECW, one's partner, with NWA at one point, and also, other stuff. So yeah, they're not gonna do like the whole industry or anything like that. They're just gonna do, stuff back then. Of course, in WWE he was a 2-time WWE championship, and of course with WCW a multiple-time champion, and NWA another once again he was a multi-time world champion. So for people, calm down. He broke the record in WWE, not the whole world, so y'all can chill. Ric Flair still got a record, but he beat Ric Flair's record like in WWE standards of being a champion. So for that point, y'all guys can relax. I think some people was happy, a little bit of the pace like John Cena was taking too. He was trying to take a slow pace and try to be, dominant in that match too. If y'all didn't hear the man, he said he's gonna ruin wrestling. So that means getting you guys upset. And if he did that, he did his job. But I did pick, Cody to retain because I wanted John Cena, to chase it, and maybe he can win it like at a either Backlash, and now maybe a possibly Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which we will get to all that stuff in a bit. But yeah, I didn't hear what John Cena had to say at the beginning of Monday Night Raw, but the end of results was Randy Orton RKO John Cena. So them two probably gonna end up feuding, and I'm surprised they ain't gonna give Cody Rhodes his rematch. Maybe they will eventually, but it's like to wait and see. Let's see. Travis Scott did interfere, but no, it was enough. Cody Rhodes was about to hit John Cena with the head with the belt. John was like pleading and stuff, and Cody couldn't, and it did cost him the match. And John Cena with the low blow hit him with the title in the pin. So I thought he would, done that on low blow, hit him with the title, then did the, attitude adjustment, and would have ended from there. But, wherever the case may be. It was a hard choice, like to choose a match of the night for Sunday. It was like really like a hard choice. But, if the match was a little bit longer, it would have been Randy Orton and Joe Hendry. That would have been my match of the night. But normally I don't have main event. The main event be like match of the night. But I think this time the John Cena and Cody Rhodes were the match of the night. Although I got my prediction wrong and I'm okay with it. But yeah, given the John Cena and Cody Rhodes match of the night. But I know people was upset because The Rock kind of set this all up, and no Rock. And I know some people was upset that the story kind of fell flat because The Rock didn't appear, which I can understand people's getting upset about it. I can understand that, but it's like, what more can you do? Like, he got other stuff going on, like with movies. Of course, only the what they call that football league, the United Football League. Busy running that, and also on the board of directors of TKO and WWE and things like that. So yeah, and plus The Rock doing movies. So Rock is a busy man. So, and you kind of see why John Cena like this year will be the last year of him as a wrestler, because he want to get do more movies and want to retire while he's still in like good shape. So ain't nothing wrong with that. And I guess he had an interview earlier on the Pat McAfee show. It was like he did promise the fans, this year me like wrestling, that's it. And no amount of money will make me, come out of retirement, stuff like that. He probably gonna make appearances and stuff like that, but maybe attack somebody or whatever the case may be. But like probably like an in-ring like competition, he's probably not gonna do that after when it comes to December. If y'all don't know, they're planning on maybe making a PLE event for him, calling it Ruthless Aggression, but that's the rumor right now, and it's supposed to be in Boston in December. Don't know when, but it's like one of those things, wait and see. But yeah, night 2, grade and rate night 2. Let me think. Like I said, the Undisputed WWE Championship was the match of the night for night 2. And I said Jade Cargill versus Naomi was the match of the night for night 1. I actually have to say night 2 by the slight edge was better than night 1. Normally you had this night 1, night 2, ever since the WrestleMania does like the 2-night event. Normally you always go with night 1 because night 1 was always good, but this time with Triple H full control, night 2 had a little bit of a slight edge over night 1, just a slight edge. But like overall grading it, I would give night 2 an A, but I will give it an A for grading, and I will give rated night 2 a 9. So both 9s, but night 1 got an A minus and night 2 got an A. So that's my grade for that one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now they gotta get stuff set up for Backlash will be not too long from now, maybe like a few weeks, I believe. So yeah, got that going on. Then like I said, let's get to these PLEs and stuff like that. So all the PLEs except for 2 of them has been confirmed. So everything right now, for not the NXT PLEs but the WWE PLEs are official. Of course, you already know about Backlash in St. Louis. And of course, they mentioned on Saturday that WWE and TKO had acquired AAA, so they're gonna do something big for them, which will be in LA with Worlds Collide. Will be earlier that day in LA. Then they did, officially announce on Sunday, well, yesterday, that although Milwaukee was in the bid for Money in the Bank, but don't know how, they end up losing it, but because Los Angeles was not like in the run or anything like that, or they didn't talk about it, but somehow, big cities always win. So, which is like my big frustration is just like, come on now. Milwaukee hasn't had a pay-per-view since Fastlane. That was in 2017. So, yeah. It's been like nearly a decade since we had like a PLE. Like, we always had these, SmackDown, Raw and stuff and like things like that. And I'm glad, they ain't gonna do no more house shows, but still. We done everything for like, get an update on the convention center. Got a new arena, and I know there's still some missing parts that's in the Deer District, but that would be all, started to, and conclude at least like in 2027 or 2028. Everything would be, concluded. And not just, WWE in general, but the NBA as well is like, we got this like new arena, then we got this convention that's, updated. And the NBA, looked the other way, although, Milwaukee and the Bucks had put a bid for get the All-Star game. So they didn't officially name 2027 or 2028 for the All-Star just yet. But it's either, the same places always get it, twice or more than that. It's just insane. Like, I'm not going to talk about the MLB All-Star Game because, the Brewers, they had it in 02. I know we're going to be due for one, but I'm not expecting us to have it, maybe in the 2030s. We'll probably will, have like an MLB All-Star Game. But, right now, especially, with the, retooling and reconstructing the American Family Field, I don't see them having it unless, a shocker to be like, okay, 2027, 2028, the Brewers will have the All-Star game. Like, okay. So, at least, the Brewers did have it, in 02. So, not that long. And for the Bucks to have, like, the All-Star game since 74. So, yeah, it's been some years. I would say, yeah, over 50 years since they last have an All-Star game. And that makes sense. Oh, I could be wrong. It could have been 78. So... But still, like, nearly 50 years and still didn't have an All-Star game since. Like, we had two arenas different. The Bradley Center and now Pfizer Forum. No All-Star game. Like, seriously. And yeah, there was some stuff, was being developed in that area around that time too. But still, could have happened. If the MLB can have an All-Star game in Milwaukee, it's like, why the NBA can do the follow? Like, seriously. Like, it's good that we have more conventions. Huh?
We last had the All-Star game February 13th, 1977 at the Mecca Arena.
Thank you. Because I know I was a little bit off when I said 74. So I knew I was off.
Nearly 50 years ago.
Yeah.
The Western Conference defeated the Eastern Conference with a score of 125 to 124. Julius Erving of the Philadelphia 76ers was awarded the MVP.
Although he was playing for the East, so yeah, kind of weird. But then again, the NBA was different back then, and I think the Bucks at the time was still in the Western Conference. I think they didn't move back to the East until the 80s, I believe. But yeah, it's like, I'm glad, Milwaukee's getting like more conventions coming in and things like that, and a lot of stuff is going on here, and it's like, when it comes, like WWE and maybe NBA, it's like, what are we missing? Like, we kind of like upgraded like everything they wanted, especially having like more hotels.
There's more going up.
Yeah, and there's more hotels that's going up too, especially not the one that's going to be nearby the Pfizer Forum that's going to be start construction this summer. Then you got the other one that's gonna be across the street from the Hyatt that's gonna be up this summer. Then you got the one on the east side that's gonna be starting this summer. It's like,
by the airport.
yeah, by the airport too. You're right. So there's a lot of things that's going on in here, and it's I don't know what to say, but it's like those are like a big event and stuff like that. So for the people in Milwaukee going up there for WrestleMania last year, like saying you want to do something with WWE, and you know, it seems like everything, big city ones over small market city. So maybe, WWE may have some other plans in mind for getting something here, but since everything is almost confirmed, and like I said, except for maybe like, well, we already know the Crown Jewel is going to be in Saudi Arabia in November, so that's confirmed. But they're
It just doesn't sound hopeful anymore, does it?
right. So that just made me just saying like what's the point? Like should like people like start caring about some of these like small market cities like start caring about WWE, and like okay, they come here, like people know they missed out ever since after the pandemic and stuff like that, and they've been having mostly like sold out shows here in Milwaukee, but it's like what's more is going to take for them to bring something like big like a PLE or something like that. But like I said, we like lucked out over Los Angeles for Money in the Bank. Evolution pay-per-view, we know the rumor is going to be in Connecticut, and that'll be on July 5th. So they just talking about it, but it's not confirmed. We know SummerSlam is going to be in New Jersey. Clash in Paris will be the end of August in Paris. So you know what? Nothing wrong with that. Also confirmed that there will be a PLE event in Peru, Australia in October. I kind of,
And I will say this, I'm glad that they're going abroad more because there are fans over there who deserve to see stuff.
Right.
But just remember, you got to keep your home country happy too.
Exactly. Like I can understand, WWE trying to go, global, but still, just like Hazel said, you gotta keep the people in America happy as well. Like I said, Peru, Australia in October. Crown Jewel most likely will happen in Saudi Arabia. So they only gonna do one this year because they're gonna have the Royal Rumble in January. Well, January or February for Saudi Arabia. So got that. Survivor Series. They mentioned today it's official. It will be in San Diego in November. I forgot what day, but it's gonna be like on after Thanksgiving weekend. So got Survivor Series. The only thing that has been confirmed, like I said, the Evolution for the all women's PLE. That and also Ruthless Aggression, which was rumored, that happened for Boston, which would be John Cena's, final match on the card, and final WWE appearance for a while. So yeah. I'm sorry, but we don't need to do all that. So we ain't got no time for no jokes or anything like that. So all you're gonna do is just play games and be like a keyboard warrior, and all you do is talk behind the keyboard. You can kick rocks. Anyway, so yeah, that's like I said, everything in the PLE for WWE is official, except for those two. As for NXT, they still didn't say anything for June yet, and normally they have Heat Wave. So we kind of know that they may not do Heat Wave. So I think San Diego will probably we'll keep that out there because they might do something, might have that on a Sunday. So that's a possibility. So we'll just keep it there, but we'll just say Milwaukee is out of the picture for Heat Wave. Great American Bash, possibility. Because we know Saturday night's main event will be in May as well.
I've just had a thought.
Okay.
I'm going to be at an event on Saturday that the mayor's involved in. I'm going to ask him what happened.
Thank you. If you get to talk to the mayor.
Oh, I'll be talking to the mayor.
Oh yeah, because I think everybody want to know, you know, what happened with, you know, the situation with, you know, not following through with the bid and stuff like that. And I did, you know, contact Sports Milwaukee, but they were the ones, you know, put the bid on, and I don't know, they didn't give enough or whatever the case may be. But I don't know. Great American Bash, you know, it's a possibility because, you know, like I said, Saturday night main event, you know, they didn't, you know they got May, but they know it's going to be July 12th for Saturday night's main event. And it's a possibility we may end up getting that and get the, you know, Great American Bash the next night. So that could be, you know, a possibility that, you know, Milwaukee may have something, you know, something that big. So that's a possibility. You never know. So, and plus, you know, it takes like WWE this long, you know, to mention like a event in Milwaukee, and normally, you know, they don't take this long. You know, the pandemic thing, you know, that was one thing. You know, when they decide, you know, go back and like tour, you know, we can understand that, but it's like, unless you know it's gonna be something big for you know, Milwaukee, maybe, you know, they can do that. And it's a possibility that something else may come up. But somebody had a thought that I was talking to that King of the Ring 1996, you know, it was the birth of Austin 316, and next year will be the 30th anniversary of Austin 16 was born. So, you know, maybe a possibility, you know, we might have a PLE and it'll be in June, maybe King of the Ring. And it could be here. You never know. No, do the 30th anniversary of Austin 316. Or do have like a big event for that in Milwaukee and go from there. So those are possibilities too. But I guess it's just one of those things you're on the verge, is like, you know, why should you care about, you know, going to WWE events? And it's like, you know, you get to, you know, go meet, you know, some of the wrestlers. Either you go to the, you know, airport, or because they haven't had no like meet and greets. Not at all, but you see all these other, you know, places, you know, have meet and greets and stuff like that. And Milwaukee hasn't had a meet and greet ever since, you know, they had a meet and greet with like Hornswoggle at Cricket. But and you know what, the last person they had for a meet and greet was God, who was the last person before? I think it was Becky Lynch before the pandemic. So she was the last. You know, you got these other places not doing, you know, no meet and greet and stuff like that. But you have like indie fans, then, you know, have, you know, guests and stuff like that too. But I guess partly it's just not the same. But only time will tell. But the only thing I think will be left that, you know, Milwaukee will probably have, because, you know, they got official full dates of June, July, and most of August. Not all dates, you know, all the other dates ain't confirmed yet. Like I said, the Evolution ain't confirmed, and of course, you know, Saturday night main event that's gonna be in July, that's not gonna be confirmed. But then again, you know, next month maybe they'll mention it. You know, Milwaukee will have Saturday night main event, so it's still something. But, you know, maybe, you know, they make like a big deal out of it. Like I said, do that, then have you know, if they had a Great American Bash for Milwaukee, they can do that. Because in looking at it, there's a lot of stuff going on, you know, with, you know, Milwaukee, with, you know, having the Summerfest weekend, then had the Harley Davidson, and I think the Harley Davidson is like kind of like that weekend too. So, you know what, why not? I don't know. But then again, the special events, you know, they didn't mention any other special events yet. Maybe, you know, tomorrow NXT will mention something. So maybe, they had something in April or June or something like that. So it's like one of those wait and sees. But I don't know, maybe like around, by 2030, I'm hoping, something will, actually happen. Something big will happen here, and game is over, and the Brewers lost 2-5. Um, but yeah, something's got to give, because you only can do so much and have like so much like going on, like seeing these small market cities, and I don't know. I just think they just need to be treated better, especially the ones that have like NBA teams and try to like improve in their area. It's like they just being overlooked. But it is gonna be funny because I was at the AEW show, when they had Collision and Ring of Honor. Everybody screamed like at Tony Khan like pay-per-view, and although he's saying he will look into it and consider it, but it's gonna be funny if we end up getting a pay-per-view from AEW next year, but still don't get anything from WWE. So that's got to say something to the WWE, if that's possible. If they, they probably won't mention it. AEW probably won't mention it until when it gets to that time next year, because AEW only comes like once a year in Wisconsin, but WWE comes like 3 times a year in Wisconsin, twice here and one time in Green Bay. I guess right now it's just like wait and see. But you know what? I'm gonna move on from this and calm myself down, because I'm still upset and still wonder what happened with between the plans that they was gonna do had like something big for here and all that. So something's gonna gotta give. Some people are gonna end up because WWE had their dark days in like in the 2010s, and I think it could come to that again if certain places is like okay, we don't get a PLE and stuff like that, like what's going on, and and the city has been good to them, and it's just like what more can you do? But I can ramble on that all day, but I'm gonna just move on, and we're gonna talk about oh yeah, it's over an hour already, so didn't think we was gonna go that far. But anyways, Daredevil Born Again. I like the first 3 seasons of Daredevil, and I and everything else, like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. Although there are some people that are not big fans of Iron Fist, I don't know why, but I thought they were pretty good. But like I said, it all started with going like I think it was like 5 years past after the third season of Daredevil with this. So all of that is canon with the Netflix series and with with the Disney Plus. So they then in the beginning of the first episode, Froggy gets killed, and Daredevil went after a Bullseye. Try to kill Bullseye, but I would say it was hard to kill. Then Matt Murdock gave up being Daredevil and to focus more on being a lawyer. And if y'all saw Echo, Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, decided to go for mayor, and I think it was like that same episode or episode later, he succeeded in being mayor. And then it is crazy that he's trying to point this persona that he's trying to save the city and stuff like that, and his wife Vanessa wants him to get like back into crime, which he was it seems like he was like a little bit torn between that and that. But I guess it shows later on that he didn't change. If y'all saw like the very last episode, yeah, like it just keep pulling him back, and he just hadn't changed. But before that, Mac and Wilson end up, had like a meeting and stuff, and like Wilson facing, cutting off, all vigilante activities. So if anything happens, he's gonna go after them. And Matt said the same thing. Like, if you cross the line, I'm gonna go back as Daredevil. But he did went back as Daredevil, but he went to go save the guy that played, White Tiger, his daughter. He went to go, save her and from Muse. So that was, another enemy that was on there. He was only on there for like maybe like 1 or 2 episodes. That was a good fight. But yeah, it was, insane. So right now, they're currently shooting season 2. So that's gonna be out around the same time next year. And Karen, partner with with Foggy and Matt for like the lawyer agency. Matt now got this big firm partnering it with a couple of people, and Karen kind of doing her own thing and like trying to get out of there after this what happened with Foggy. And the Punisher was in at least like 2 episodes. I think it was the 5th one and also the final one when him and Daredevil had teamed up or going against Wilson's task force going against like vigilantes. So, and I know people probably was interested in the like final episode. Daredevil was thinking he was gonna go after all of them by himself, and they jump on the Punisher and like lock him up. So Daredevil, realized, and then when Karen was talking, like, we need an army. And now, they're all out for Daredevil, especially for Matt, saving Fisk's life by taking the bullet from Bullseye. And the Punisher did say something like, why did you save him? And Daredevil's like, asking that question myself. So, like I said, I thought this season was pretty good, and I liked it. And it seems like season 2, when they get to that point, it's going to be like bigger and better. Maybe all the players that's from the Defenders, like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist may come back. Help them out, or maybe they'll. And plus, all this is in like Marvel Studios, so they will have more characters to play with. Echo could return as well. So now with Daredevil, which they were limited with characters on the first 3 seasons, now they can do with more characters what they want in season 2. So I think season 2 will be a very big thing. So it's like one of those things. Stay tuned for that. But, I thought it was pretty great. And somebody did mention that, the first few episodes, they were shot, because, like Daredevil Born Again did some reshoots. And, the original idea, they was going to try to do it, like, start all over and all that stuff. But they realized that it wouldn't make sense, and you might as well just continue on from, the first 3 seasons of Daredevil from Netflix. You might as well just continue on from that. So it was a smarter idea, but because one of the issues was Daredevil didn't suit up until like was the 5th or 6th episode. So what they did, they shoot the first episode and kind of had Daredevil suited up right away. Kind of gave the reason why he didn't want to put on back the suit on. So like I said, he didn't shoot up until like I think it was like the 5th or 6th episode. So it's kind of understandable. And I think they did made it, that much better. So, rating it and grading this, I would give this one a 9.5 by rating it, and grading it would be an A-. Ivy, get in here! Ivy!
Where is she?
In the hallway, sit down! Get over here and sit down. Ivy, sit down. You was out already. You don't need to go out again. But sorry about that. But like I said, A minus and rated it 9.5. So I think the second season will be better and stuff like that. And probably I'll agree with y'all. Probably the reason why I graded it and rated it because he was only suit up for that first episode, then took all the way up to episode like 5 or 6 for him to like to suit up again. So it's probably the only reason why I did that. But overall, pretty good. And the next TV series will be Ironheart. If y'all saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever, you saw Ironheart on there. But yeah, so going her own adventures, and we will just see from there like what's gonna happen. So that's gonna start showing in June 24th. Then again, and you got next week you got the Thunderbolts that's gonna be out, and they said they didn't do any reshoots with Thunderbolts. So and it got like a positive review from test screenings. So should be pretty good, and we'll see what happens. New team, familiar characters, and all that good stuff. So it's like that, wait and see. And as for DC, I think they got nothing coming out until Superman, which would be in July. So I think they got nothing right now. But I know that Ninja Batman 2 is out, so I gotta get that eventually and do my review on that one when I get the chance to see it. So stay tuned for that. One more piece of news before we end the show. It's actually good news. Just put it that way. Damian Lillard moved up from, maybe like out to questionable for game 2. If y'all saw, my last Bucks report, I was expecting him to be ready for game 3. I didn't think he was gonna play game 2. But I guess now everything, all the information and stuff right now is more hopeful. And they said him running around and stuff like that. The blood cough they said is gone, but he gotta get back to somewhat basketball shape and go from there. Because he can do content more like basketball contact with basketball and stuff like that. His cousin died from a blood clot on his leg. Okay, so we kind of understand that, and plus the staff did detected it early, so that's probably why he's going to be back sooner than usual, which with Victor Wembanyama, which I talked about it when they mentioned that he was going to be out for the season because of it. But yeah, I'm saying I guess so far in advance technologies and stuff like that. So it's just good, that got this news, and I think game 1, they need to scoring badly. Besides, from the bench, the starters. Brooke didn't do much. Torian Prince and Kyle Kuzma only 0 points, and some people having the field day with Kyle Kuzma because he only had no points, but y'all can get on Kyle Kuzma, but y'all don't get on Torian Prince either, or the rest of the team. You gotta hold the team accountable. With Giannis only having just 1 assist, and normally he got to do better than that, and not always play hero ball. I know he was doing some passing in the fourth quarter, but nobody wasn't hitting. So that's one thing, but still, you got to do better than that. You can't always do bully ball all the time. We know nobody can stop you when it comes to anybody in the Pacers, but still, it's not a one-man army. There's times that Giannis just got to realize that it's not a one-man army. Now I hope Damian Lillard don't come out that way too, because he's a scorer first and pass second. So, like I said, he did return, competition, like reconditioning. That's what he's doing right now. So, right now, tomorrow's game is questionable. And Tyler Smith, I didn't know about this with the left ankle sprain. I didn't know that until I saw this today. So, he's going to be out. So, could have been another factor. So, and plus, how you going to play Jericho Sims like 10 minutes? I don't get that. I don't know. Like I said, Saturday's game, I hold everybody accountable, including the coaches. So hopefully, they readjust and, go back and go to the drawing board and at least get at least one win in Indiana. So a lot of people still got the Bucks favor to win the series. So right now it's just like one of those wait and sees, and maybe some teams maybe the team will like come back from that and be better. So just wait and see. Anyways, that's it, guys. Like I said, I appreciate y'all watching. Thank you for people that's watching through Twitch. We try to do, live content like almost every day. And if you have an opportunity, you can check out the WFSO Wrestling Talk. I did an interview with the lovely Hazel, so you can check that episode out. It is out on Spotify and also on YouTube right now. So you get a chance, check that out. And please, people that's watching on Twitch, please share the channel. Let people know the content we does besides those 3 contests and talk about developments that's going on in Milwaukee. So if you're interested in all those subjects that we talk about, you will like this channel. And after you people on YouTube, thanks for the like today. Also, please subscribe to the channel, and we're trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. We can do more stuff if we're get to that point. Maybe get up more subscribers. So after 1,000, I'm just gonna say you guys like to subscribe. I'm not gonna set any goals like after we get to 1,000. So if we get higher than that, great. If not, still great too. Like as long as we get to a certain point. But anyways, like I said, over 2,500 videos and counting. Check them out. Maybe some things you could be interested in. You never know. Also check out the website WrestlingFansSpeakOut.weebly.com. Upcoming events in the Midwest, wrestling wise, wrestling events we've been to, and Bucks events we've been to. Pictures of wrestlers. Also other stuff and just other stuff y'all could be interested in. And thanks to Mike and Robin Thompson for sponsorship. Y'all interested in being sponsored, get a hold of me on here. But anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. And we didn't think it was going to be this long, but it's like almost an hour, 30 minutes. So, once again, thank you guys for watching. Until the next video, you guys have a good one.